Dude, thanks for joining me. So you got into town and I was like, we should have Jack over and just talk about like the first day that we ever met when you were prepping for, So, all right. While we're talking about the first day that we ever met, I did not know that I did this, but apparently I talk with my hands a lot.
So if you guys didn't already notice, just by observing him, and every time he's like, hey guys, so welcome back to Murillo podcast. And so let me just talk to you about something. What are your top 3 core values?
All right, anyway, so the thing that I noticed about Jack, and by the way, this is what makes you a good actor, is that like you started doing impersonations immediately. And when you were doing impersonations of me right out of the gate, I was like, hey, all right, fine. I've heard you do an impersonation of everybody else at work. Mm-hmm. Do one of me. And you're like, okay. Hey, like that. I don't do that. What are you talking about?
Oh my.
And then like the next day, I'm walking down the hall and I ran into somebody, a PA or something. Yeah. And I was like, hey! And I was like, oh, Jesus, dude, he's totally right. So the thing that's good is that you're able to pick up on like subtleties, and I think that's what makes a good impression.
Yeah, I mean, and back to acting, I guess that's a thing about acting is all the little subtleties that make performance more realistic, right?
Yeah. Do you think about that stuff before you start acting, or is it more you just like get to know the story and the character and then it just manifests itself after that?
That's a good question, because I feel like nowadays I think more about that stuff, about the actual craft of acting, and the steps to really feel comfortable in a character. But during Avatar, I got cast when I was 12 and just did it for years. So it's like, I didn't really think about the craft as much as I was like, this is just my life. And pretending to be Spider is just literally my day
just
job.
Like what you do,
who I am.
Dude, totally. So, now at this point, is it something to where you're like, do you watch yourself act, or is it just like you do it and then kind of reflect back on how it felt or whatever? And you're like, on the next take, I'm gonna do this. Like,
I think I just kind of feel it. I mean, half the time on sets, sometimes they don't even have playback for you to see.
Right.
So only the directors will give you a note. And then honestly, it's just the way I go is how I feel. So if it felt a little awkward, like, okay, well, let me just try something different. So I just kind of feel it.
Awesome, dude. Day one, I remember when they brought me into the gym, I got there like an hour early because I wanted to crush the job so hard. And
classic Josh.
Yeah, so I showed up early, got to know the gym really well, and I had this program all written out. You walked in the door, and you were, at the time, you were about this high, like up to my chest. And I was like, hey man, how you doing? What were your thoughts, first of all, as far as like when they told you, we're gonna get you a trainer and you're gonna work out a lot and look good with your shirt off?
Oh,
and at the time, because you were what, 12, 13?
Yeah, I think I was 13. I remember feeling like I was ready to go on the journey, like, because Garrett, the stunt coordinator, and so I was working out with Steve and Brandon at the time, the 2 stunt guys. Every morning, we'd basically just do conditioning mixed with some medium weights. I mean, light weights, because that's all I can do. So we just do basically conditioning every morning. And I was like, man, this really hurts. This really sucks. But I remember Garrett was like, just keep doing it. You're gonna look great with your shirt off. And then was like, and we got you a trainer, a guy who's literally, his whole job is to make you look good. I was like, damn, this is intense. He was just like, and you're gonna eat like, basically just like plain protein oatmeal for like the whole time. And then finally, after years of doing it, you'd be like, you know what, fine, I'm done. And then you get like one cheat day. I'm like, what? Okay, so I was definitely being overwhelmed. Then when you came in, I remember you were just like, hey, like, nice to meet you, I'm Josh. You had me do, just to test my limits on the rower, and I don't know if I'd ever done a rower before.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, oh, this is pretty easy. He's just having me do some light rower, and then you're like, all right, here we go. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing it. And then you like kept on pushing the pace, and I was,
So the first day getting to know you when we were training was getting an idea of your athletic background and how much play and sport you had done. And and I realized real quick that you were growing into a body that was growing super fast. Coordination was all over the place. So really it was just about learning the basic lifts, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, we didn't even start with like basically any weight. We just learned good form first. And also just how to, and because I remember I had like my left knee was like pretty weak. So compared to like my right leg, so we just did like certain stuff with this leg to like be able to squat.
Dude, I remember that.
Was so much just like little stuff to get me to the basics. It was like the basics of the basics.
Yeah, we had to like lay a foundation before we could actually get serious about training.
Yeah, which I feel like I'm the perfect example of, if I can do it, any of you guys can do it, because I literally started. You can vouch for me because he was right. He was there. I started at nothing.
Yeah, but you did it the right way. Like you built a good foundation, so that way you wouldn't get injured when we actually had to like push it and go hard.
No, for sure.
That was good, dude. I think it's interesting, and I think this maybe helped change your mindset a little bit in the long run. I know it took a little while, but like when you first came in, you asked me, you're like, hey, my mom says you're the guy that's gonna give me some muscles. I gave you the most like cliche Josh Murillo response. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give you muscles.
Oh my gosh.
You're gonna earn them yourself.
Yeah.
So cheesy, dude.
I remember, I mean, dude, but you were full of those. What are your core values? Because your core values are going to help set your goals and the standards of your, and it was just like all this stuff. I was like, okay.
I'm a walking platitude, dude. Anyway.
Platitude gratitude.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo. That being cheesy, which it is, the thing I was trying to do is get your mind in the right place of like, I can't do this for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And that was kind of like a theme recurring throughout. And we can get into
years.
this down the road. Like
Yeah.
when you get into town, we'll chat and just add on to this or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, there were really tough moments when you were creating this. During the really tough moments, I mean, there were certain times I was saying to you like, I wish I could do this for you, bro.
But,
like, I wish I could help.
Yeah.
But it's gotta be you, you know?
Yeah.
Did you realize that like at the beginning when we were talking about it, or more like later on when we got into it?
Oh man, I feel like I was just beginning to realize the responsibility that I had, and I didn't really truly feel it until it was in those moments that I feel like everyone in life has those moments when it's just you and it's on you.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, okay, I have to do this workout. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And the thing is, like, down the road, you know, I'm older, so I have this lived experience where I was like, dude, it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders right now, but when you're on the other side of it, you're gonna be so proud that nobody did it for you.
Yeah.
That you did it. And it's hard to explain that to a 13-year-old, but I'm sure now that you're older and the movie's out, you're like, oh, I get it now, you know?
No, I do get it. And
Yeah.
and because there's a few shots where I'm like, I'm glad I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
I'm glad we worked our asses off to get like that, because that'll be there forever. You know?
It's there forever, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, we should work out now. We'll pick this up later on.
Are we gonna do biceps, triceps, or maybe tricep extensions?
Conditioning.
Goodbye. Josh, it was great seeing you.